Three quarterbacks with bicep labral injuries and three very different stories. What can we learn from these? John Elway, Brett Favre, and Andrew Luck. All three had notable shoulder problems that affected their throwing arms. But how each quarterback recovered from their injury is quite different, and I think they are case studies in how everyday people like you and me should approach shoulder injuries, especially when it comes to the bicep and labrum complex. John Elway was an incredible quarterback for the Denver Broncos who had a happy shoulder accident. During his long career as a throwing athlete, he had been dealing with shoulder pain stemming from damage to the long head of his bicep tendon. This is a really common injury and something that I see in many, if not most of my patients. In early preseason of the 1997 NFL season, John Elway's upper end of the bicep ruptured, leaving his arm with what we call a Popeye deformity. Rather than stopping him, this event suddenly relieved the pain that he had been putting up with. You see, the long head of the bicep curves sharply as it enters the shoulder. Damage tends to accumulate here at this sharp friction point and corner. When the tendon ruptures, it drops down past this point and can no longer rub or pull on the torn roots of the shoulder. Aside from the Popeye deformity of the bicep, the pain relief is usually so significant that many people, like John Elway, choose to leave the arm alone rather than to have a surgery to repair the torn tendon. Elway returned to play less than 3 weeks after his injury and went on to lead his team to back-to-back Super Bowl victories that year and the following season. Brett Favre played 20 seasons in the NFL. At the age of 40, he was having pain from his bicep labral complex. This was visibly affecting his ability to throw the ball. He made a surprising choice that allowed him to beat the pain and return to his normal throwing form in record time. In summer of 2009, he had a surgery called a bicep tenotomy. In a nutshell, that is a surgery where the surgeon cuts the bicep free of the labral anchor and lets it drop down past this killer corner where the tendon tends to rub. This also relieves any tension on any damaged roots of the tendon, which is also known as a slap tear. The month after his surgery, Favre reported to the Minnesota Vikings training camp. He had the statistically best season of his career, throwing for over 4,000 yards, and he led his team to beat his former team, the Green Bay Packers, twice in conference play. I often meet people who come to see me shortly after they suffer a ruptured bicep. In many cases, these patients tell me that in the time they were waiting to see me, after the bruising initially cleared up, the arm started feeling so much better that they almost canceled the appointment. I tell them that they got the Brett Favre surgery without having to have surgery. However, the fine print reads that 20% of people with the bicep rupture will feel a crampy sensation in the bicep. It can rarely be bothersome enough to require a surgery. For those who want to avoid the deformity and the potential cramping sensation, the bicep tendon can be reattached to the humerus, keeping the normal length relationship of the bicep muscle. That's called a bicep tenodesis, and it's one of the most common procedures I do. Andrew Luck played 7 seasons in the NFL. Although he had many successes, he had a lingering shoulder injury that started just 3 years into his pro career. How he handled the injury and eventually the surgery may have led to his early retirement from football. Luck injured the labrum of his shoulder. While exact medical details are unavailable, it appears that he had what is called a slap tear. SLAP stands for superior labrum anterior to posterior, and it involves a tear to the rim of the shoulder socket where the long head of the bicep muscle attaches to the socket. That type of injury is common in throwing athletes and those who do a lot of overhead activity. Surgery to repair slap tears has been reported to have a very good success rate in athletes under the age of 30. Luck was only 28 when he had the surgery, so his prognosis should have been good. Unfortunately, the slow rehabilitation from the surgery caused Luck to miss the entire 2017 season. He even told reporters that he had, quote, botched his rehabilitation. He returned the following season, but new injuries as well as the nagging pain from his previous injury caused him to retire from the NFL at the age of 29. The upper labrum is the anchor point for the long head of the bicep tendon. When we repair it, it requires at least 8 weeks of very strict restrictions to avoid pulling the repaired roots off the bone. Some studies have shown equal return to sports after either a superior labral repair or a bicep tenodesis or tenotomy. But a recent meta-analysis found that the labral repair was less successful than a bicep tenotomy or tenodesis. We will never know what would have happened if Andrew Luck had gotten a different surgery like the one Brett Favre had gotten. In my daily practice, I generally recommend a slap repair only for those under the age of 30 who are determined to follow the strict restrictions. For everyone else, I recommend a bicep tenodesis. I've made another video going deeper into the subject. Please click the link to watch more. If you found this video helpful, please share it with someone who may benefit from this information. For more of the latest and best in shoulder and arm care, please hit the subscribe button.